Hello virtual pilots, today we are going to go to the startup procedure for the AH-64D Apache in DCS World. In primary service for the US Army since its first flight back in 1975, the Apache was adopted by many other nations thanks to its vast capabilities on the front line. The Apache conducts precision strikes and provides armed reconnaissance support during day and night operations, even in adverse weather conditions. It is controlled by a pilot and co-pilot gunner or CPG. Following the instructions available in the sim, we are going to go step by step in every procedure, highlighting the important switches you need to remember in order to bring this attack helicopter to life. We will perform a cold and dark startup, we will taxi and execute a hover power check, and after that we will continue with a hovering departure or VMC level takeoff. So let's start! Welcome in the cockpit of the Apache. Today we are in the pilot seat and our friend George will be our CPG in front. Say hi, George.
Hello!
Now the first thing we will do is a cockpit check to ensure we are all set up for the start of our aircraft. On our left side, the two power levers are in the off position. Our collective is all the way down, parking brake is applied in its pulled position, and the CMVS is set to off. Now we will turn the master ignition to the bat position. You will notice that the Enhance Up Front Display or EUFD will light up and display warnings, cautions, and advisory as well as communication equipment information. Before we do anything, we will test the fire detection circuit starting with fire test 1.
Engine 1 fire. Engine 2 fire. APU fire. Aft deck fire.
Moving on to the second half of the detection
Engine
circuit,
1 fire.
you need to make sure that all three advisory lights are lighted and you hear the voice warning
Aft deck
messages.
fire.
And we clear the master warning. Next, we will test the signal lamps by pressing this button on the interior lighting panel. We will check that all buttons are illuminated, the emergency lights, tail wheel lock, the armament buttons, fire and master warning buttons, and there are no lights on the right side. Done! Now we are ready to start the APU. We first open the lid and press the button once. This will initiate automatic APU start and illuminates the text on. Also, you will see the indication APU power on and APU start on the EUFD. A barbecue fire will erupt in the back, but hold on to your marshmallows as it won't be lighted forever. Once the APU is on, the two MPDs will light up. Things are about to get more louder, so let's close the office door. On the right MPD, let's check the TST utility menu and ensure the Doppler option is selected for the INS. In use should be visible in green, and the text above for the position confidence will switch to green as well very soon. Good, let's move on. We'll switch back to menu and fuel page for the startup procedure. Now I usually switch on the external and internal lights. There we go, ready to start up. Now we will switch the engine 1 start up. Monitor on the left MPD for the RPM to increase. And then move the left throttle to idle. Once the on text will disappear, we can start the second engine. Just listen to that. I really love the sound from the Apache. Now, as I said before, the on text has disappeared. Monitor to ensure the engine 1 is stabilized. And 66.6. Here we go. Ready to start engine 2. Repeat the process. Pressing engine 2 start up. Checking RPM rising and the on text appears. Ready to advance, power levers to idle. Same as before, we wait for engine 2 to spool up and stabilize, same as engine 1. In the meantime, let's uncage our attitude indicator by scrolling the mouse wheel and set it accordingly to the horizon. Now we continue to monitor. RPM needs to stabilize for both engines and PSI to be under 70. "69, there we go. Now we are ready for my favorite part. We will increase very slowly and steady both power levers to the fly position. I may be slower than what would be advised, but as I said, I enjoy the sound of the engines as it's increasing torque as you push the levers. Once set in the fly position, we check that the engines are stabilizing, and there is no sign of discrepancies. Verify NP and NR for 101%. No master caution, all good. Now we can go ahead and switch off the APU. Click once and close the cover. So after the startup, let's switch on the CMVS, but we do not arm it yet. We will do that after the takeoff. Then I usually adjust the master volume for the radios and other systems. Not too loud, but not too low. By pressing the preset button, you can check the current setup frequencies. We will now check the weapons page to list current selected loadouts. All checks out and safe. I usually switch to the right MPD for TSD, zoom in and center the map. And we can adjust the brightness. We will now need to bore sight our IHADs. We are on the correct page to start the process on the left MPD, but let's first bring up the heads-up display. So now we will access the bore sight menu on the weapons page. Select IHADs, and now we will need to center our view with the reticle in the BRU illuminated bullseye pattern. Once we are centered, we need to press the BS button on the MPD. It's not that easy, and for this reason I am thinking to map that button for a keyboard command. Now we are aligned. Let's go back to the menu, and what I like to do is to set the video feed for our CPG IHADs for target identification. Here you can change a few settings depending on the situation, if you are operating in the day or night. I select TADS. And then we can always switch to the weapons tab again, but still get video feed in the background, which is very useful. Now we are ready for taxi. In order to steer left and right, we will need to unlock our tail wheel. The button is located here. I map the button on my HOTAS in order to operate it more easily. The IHADs can be used during taxi, but I prefer not to, as I can navigate on the left MPD and select menu and FLT option. This will display same information but have a clear view on the ground. Parking brake goes off. We will steer with our anti-torque pedals, and we will provide forward movement by pushing forward on the cyclic control stick. If you want to reduce speed, I push backwards as well. This part requires a bit of practice, especially if you never operated helicopters before. It seems that one of our Black Hawks is returning to base after a successful escort. I may choose to showcase our operations, at least a few of them, here on the channel. This sequence is part of a convoy escort mission in the northeast of Syria. You will need to be very gentle with the pedals and even use the stick to smoothly perform a turn on the taxiway. We will go ahead and stop here by pulling backwards on the cyclic and applying a bit of toe brakes. Now we will perform a hover power check. So when performing a hover power check, it is best advised to use the eye-hats and switch to hovering mode. We will raise our collective until we are light on our wheels. Adjust the trim in such a way that the helicopter is balanced off the ground. If that doesn't happen and our hover cue indications in the performance page are off, the aircraft won't have enough power to perform any approach and hover, and your loadout needs to be readjusted. That's not the case today. Once again, I tend to eyeball it and switch the eye-hats off until I got a perfect trim setting. The anti-torque pedals are essential in keeping the aircraft steady and facing your heading. In the beginning, we tend to apply too much correction with our cyclic. Try to loosen up and keep it as clean as possible. If the aircraft moves forward or backwards, readjust and apply a bit of collective as well to enforce a bit of power on the maneuver. Once again, it takes practice and determination to ensure a perfect hover. I need more practice as well. I think we got it. Time to perform a VMC level acceleration takeoff. This type of takeoff is meant to reduce the risk of operating inside the avoid region should an engine fail. It is the preferred takeoff for the AH-64D when possible. Checking runway, clear. Other types are the VMC minimum power takeoff and the rolling takeoff. So as you just saw, from a hover we begin to turn into our runway. I adjust the trim and increase my speed for a 90 knots climb. We maintain ground track alignment with the pedals and center the trim ball into coordinated flight. Now the eye-hats will prove useful to track our speed and flight path. Once we pass 70 knots, we are free to veer off for our first waypoint. And that's it. We perform a cold and dark startup, we taxied and learned how to execute a hover power check, and continued with a VMC level acceleration takeoff from the airfield. Next, we will continue our tutorial series for DCS World featuring old and new modules available now and in the future. Hope you find our video informative and be sure to give us a like and subscribe to be in touch with all the latest news from your favorite simulators and games. I'm Andre Celesti, reminding you to fly safe, and I'll see you next time.